One voice, the world declared, human rights are women's rights, and women's rights are human rights.
Women are not even accepted as human beings. They are treated with injustice and inequality. Women are denied. They are neglected, even in the developed countries.
I am from Britain, and I think it is right that I am paid the same as my male counterparts. I think it is right that I should be able to make decisions about my own body.
I will not be lectured about sexism and misogyny by this man. I will not. And the government will not be lectured about sexism and misogyny by this man.
Feminists started as a movement for equal rights between men and women.
Women are persons, women are people. And we want to be able to come and go through it, and we don't want to be intimidated by signs that say men's buffet.
I have no intentions of taking the sign down or changing the sign. If you can get a court order to take it down, fine.
You have no intention of changing your policy of segregated facilities. Is that correct, sir?
If you women are that hard up for a glass of beer, I'll be glad to serve you at the bar.
The first wave of feminism was for women to have equal voting power as men, and for all women to be recognized as human beings under the law. The 18th of August 1920, Senator Harry Thomas Byrne was against women voting until his mother sent him a letter telling him to be a good boy and vote for feminists. Little did he know that his vote would change the entire way that society functions 45 years later.
We reject the anti-family goals of the Equal Rights Amendment. The American women do not want abortion, they do not want lesbian privileges, and they do not want universal child care in the hands of the government.
Second wave of feminism fought for equal job opportunities and workplace rights for women. Little did we know that this wave had something more sinister behind it.
That the 60s marked the end of the good old days, the end of family stability, the end of everything being predictable and comfortable. And that was when divorce went up, and that's when people started to question family life and all of those kinds of things. And that's when sexuality ran amok.
Most of the modern day women's behaviors were created in 1965 with the introduction of birth control. This bill changed the way that men and women interact with each other. As a result of this, you got the sexual revolution. This is where you got the hippies and the free love movement. Then you got disco parties, and finally AIDS in the 80s. At this point, equality was achieved. Men and women had the same workplace rights. Women had the ability to vote, same as men. Yet, feminists continue fighting. What are they fighting for?
On average, men are more interested in things and women are more interested in people. And that's actually the biggest difference we know of psychologically between men and women. And even though men and women are quite similar, all things considered, the extremes make a difference. So you imagine that in order to become an engineer, look, obviously not everyone becomes an engineer. You have to have a particular temperamental proclivity to become an engineer. You have to be extraordinarily interested in things rather than people. Well, most of those people are men. And if you want to become a nurse, well, then you have to be much more interested in people than you are in things. And most of those people are women. And so you get differences in occupational choice that are also, by the way, quite great in Scandinavia, especially in the case of engineering and nursing, that are mostly due to biological differences, and you cannot minimize that by social engineering.
The wage gap exists by choices that women make about their career fields they are willing to go into. It does not exist because of sexism. Majority of women choose jobs where you deal with people such as human resources, psychology and nursing. It makes sense that women choose these fields because biologically, women are better at communication and understanding personal expressions as compared to men. Men look for content, whereas women look for context. Because of this biological reason, women go into career fields that has lower pay grades. The wage gap does not exist because men are paid more than women for the same job. It exists because women go into jobs that do not pay as much as STEM jobs. STEM, which means science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. In fact, there are some cities where women earn more than men. This leaves the question, what are feminists fighting for?
They are fighting a cause that is detrimental to the life of the unborn and to young women, and it puts them on a wrong path. So I have to take them on, and I have to be firm about it. And I think the key to this story is you have to speak up.
Modern society has made the female experience the correct experience. If she feels a certain way, it is the correct way. And if you don't like the way she feels, then it's called toxic masculinity. Or they will say, who hurt you?
On a real level, right, this whole idea of being toxically masculine is complete garbage. And the reason it's garbage is because it's a first world problem first. Because when you put males and females in survival situations, or the closer they are to a survival situation, the quicker they're going to revert to their gender roles. If you put a whole bunch of men and a whole bunch of women, you strand them on a desert island, the men would start having to build things and fight off the animals, and the women would start farming and whatever the women would do, right?
Exactly.
Yeah? So when shit hits the fan, everyone reverts to their natural gender roles. So if you live in a country like Romania or Russia or a country that's poor...
Feminism is trying to redefine our natural biology. An example of this is it's okay for guys to cry. Guys hardly cry for emotional situations because we are biologically wired to anger in sad situations, whereas women are wired to cry. Women prioritize instincts as emotion more than what they do reason, and society expects boys to do the same thing. Therefore, society is teaching boys differently from how their brain is wired, which is reason first and emotion later. Feminism is trying to redefine human nature by intentionally teaching boys and girls behaviors against their biological brain wiring.
Let me tell you something. A real man is not intimidated by a woman that doesn't need.
No matter how independent feminists claim they are, they will always need men.
What the hell are we going to do without men? You look around the city here, you see all these buildings go up, these men, they're doing impossible things. They're under the streets, working on the sewers, they're up on the power lines, in the storms and the rain. They're keeping this impossible infrastructure functioning, this thing that works in a miraculous manner. They work themselves to death, and often literally. It's very useful to tell everyone, not just men, that they have an important role to play, a necessary role, and that if they act properly and honestly and forthrightly, that they can put their lives together and they can help their families and they can make their communities better, and that's not toxic masculinity, that appalling phrase.
Feminism is taking away our understanding of our true nature as a human species, and it's making us focus too much on being a human person. People have opinions and feelings, but in reality, those opinions and feelings do not matter when it comes to nature. Therefore, feminism, trying to separate women from being society's primary caretakers, society's mothers, society's incubators, providing a protective environment for everybody in our society who is so lost. The same feminism will lead to the end of our species, because it is creating an imbalance in polarity between men and women, understanding their roles and creating a hatred between men and women. The feminism movement does not only strive for equality, but for extinction.
Research shows the worldwide fertility rate dropped by nearly 60% between 1960 and 2018, and sperm counts have been dropping at nearly the same rate.
The influence of feminism in making men more feminine and women more masculine has led to scary increase in divorce rates.
Relationship. A new study from a professor at the University of Maryland shows millennials are pickier about who and when they marry. The result, an overall divorce rate in the U.S.
The news you just saw was shown to you in an inaccurate manner. The reason divorce rates are so low is not because millennials can hold on to a relationship. The reason that those rates are so low is because the marriage rates are low.
Research shows more young adults are putting off or abandoning the idea of getting hitched.
By one estimate, the current marriage rate is at its lowest point in a century, and it's dropping. Millennials are set this year to become the largest part of our population.
Less people are getting married, therefore less people are getting divorced. The same way that they altered that news report earlier is the same way that feminism tricks people into believing that women in society are still not receiving equal rights to men, or that women are not as safe as what men are. Studies show that men are more likely to get assaulted as compared to women, yet the media alters news and tells you otherwise. The fact I just mentioned is used as a combat technique between men's rights activists and feminists.
Also, can I just say that, men commit suicide at faster rates than women. Women actually live longer than men. Most men are actually in prison, and most men, more than women, are homeless. So
women graduate more from college. In what way are we suffering? What statistic do you feel that women are suffering and men aren't? Because there might be a meninist. There might need to be a meninism movement.
You have a female prime minister.
Well, I just need to know what exactly you've seen when you've said that is an example of toxic masculinity.
Why do we need to debate right and wrong in human lives? Why, when men say that most workplace deaths consist of males, then somebody feels the need to counter with women get raped more? Why is it offensive to say that women are submissive and feminine? Why is it considered to be weak when you are submissive? Submissive and weak are not synonyms in the English dictionary. We need to remember our roles in society if we want to make it much further in the future. You need to understand that biologically, men are dominant and women are feminine and submissive. Feminism has taken this understanding away from society and now promotes that girls should be independent. Am I saying that having a career is wrong? Am I saying that women should be stay-at-home mothers? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that society needs to understand their role, that women need to put family and children before everything, and men need to put protecting and serving their family above everything. The power that feminism puts into girls' heads starts taking control to a point where they forget that our main purpose as a human species is to reproduce. Our main purpose as a human species is to make sure that our next generation is stronger than the previous one. And for this to happen, we need both masculine fathers and feminine mothers.